What's up, everybody? So, I wasn't expecting to do another video this morning as I had quite a difficult night shift last night and I only managed to get the one prepared. However, towards the end of the shift I did come across this article from the Mail Online and I actually found it very, very interesting, and actually I found myself relating a lot to what was said in here, and this is essentially from Lord Ashcroft and his group, if you like. Let's have a look at this. We'll just talk through it. It might be a bit long because, like I say, I haven't prepared anything for it, but we'll go through it. So, Lord Ashcroft, the public's verdict on our political class. They waver between fury and contempt. On the face of it, actually, before we start, if you have a look at this, I found this was quite interesting. This graphic here, which shows, would you prefer a no deal or Corbyn as PM? So all voters, 48% of all voters said they'd prefer a no deal. But then you look to the right, of Labour Brexit voters, 57% would prefer no deal to Corbyn. So that just kind of backs up what we were talking about the other day. Corbyn is a minus 60 at the moment. I think that says it all. Anyway, that was a bit of a side there. Let's have a look at this. On the face of it, the government is in real trouble. The Supreme Court ruling against the Prime Minister follows a succession of parliamentary defeats, defections, expulsions and daily headlines about turmoil and chaos. But it is a good rule of thumb in politics that the noisier it gets, the more it pays to take a step back, a deep breath and a good look at the bigger picture. My latest research, published today, looks at the fundamentals. How voters have reacted to the drama, not just of the past few weeks, but the years since the EU referendum, and how this week's events fit into the longer story. For many people, and not just among those who backed Leave in the increasingly distant 2016 referendum, that story is one of frustration and failure. Or worse, deliberate actions to delay Brexit for as long as possible or stop it altogether. Yes, that's all I can say to that. So, I've talked in previous videos about how frustrating it is. It seems that we had this win in our belt and they've done everything they can to stop Brexit. And it's certainly looking like they're very close to be able to do so. Am I frustrated? Yes. Am I angry? Yes, I am. But I'm going to keep it calm for now. All right, continue on. That is the context in which many see the Supreme Court's decision. Many of the Brexit supporters who spoke to were not so much angered as bemused by the ruling. They seem to have made up a law and found Boris guilty of breaking it, as one put it. I have to say, absolutely, I hadn't looked at it that way, but that's exactly what it looked like, wasn't it? More telling for them is who brought the case in the first place. The people bringing these lawsuits have got money, one of the focus group participants observed. It's like they've got an extra vote somehow. They have their own interests and they're not interested in us at all. Your vote, my vote, is meaningless because it can be undermined by people of influence. And yes, I do remember reading an article last week about Gina Miller and how people were saying, she has a lot of money, she has a lot of big backers. Does that make her opinion any more valid than ours? Well, according to our democracy, no, it doesn't. But certainly I can't afford to go into court and battle for things like this. For things that I believe are real, she can. So does that make her vote more important? I don't think so, but there we go. So, moving on, now, nor are they optimistic. While nearly 8 in 10 Conservative Leave voters agree with Boris that Brexit should happen at the end of October, with or without a deal, only 1 in 3 think it's the most likely outcome. Nearly a quarter think we will end up remaining in the EU. This being the case, it's not surprising among those currently leaning towards backing Nigel Farage. The most important attribute a party can have is not competence or even having the right priorities for the country, but that it does what it says it will do. Well, my goodness, how long has it been since we've had politicians that actually do what they say they're going to do? I mean, looking over to America, they have Donald Trump. Now, love him or hate him, my goodness, he's doing what he said he was going to do, and he's annoying the hell out of everybody over there. Boris is our Trump. Is he going to do what he says he's going to do? He's certainly making the right noises at the moment. Okay, continue on. This shows the possible reward, but the potential peril of the PM nailing his collars so firmly to the Brexit mast. So far on that score, Boris gets credit for battling on through the furore to uphold the referendum verdict. This comes not just from Tories, and some even told us that they were surprised he had turned out to be so principled and determined. 6 in 10 Leave voters, and most of those intending to vote Conservative, say they would like to see him refuse to ask for an extension to Article 50 if no agreement is reached by 19th of October, despite the legal mandate to do so. So a bit of a long sentence, but 6 in 10 Leave voters want him to just ignore this new law. And I have to admit, if I'm being honest with myself, I would love to see him just ignore this. Legally, absolutely, find a way around it, Boris. He trounces Jeremy Corbyn, so that's been in several articles. We won't go through that one, but he is beating Jeremy Corbyn in all sorts of polls, and the latest poll out, obviously, be careful of polls, but still showing a 12-point lead for the Tories. Now, dealing with Brexit in the right way certainly tops the list when we ask what people think of the most important issues facing the country. But when we ask what matters most to them and their families, it falls to third, behind the cost of living and the NHS. And it's worth remembering in 2017 started out as a Brexit election, but ended up being about everything else. Social care, nationalisation, the NHS, even fox hunting, and the characteristics of the two leaders. So, last couple of paragraphs, I'm sure you'll be glad to hear. There are also the perennial problem of the Conservative Party's brand. At the last time round, many Labour voters simply could not bring themselves to vote for what they saw as the party of cuts, however strongly they agreed with Theresa May that Brexit should mean Brexit. As my research finds, Tory sceptic voters are taking Boris's pledges of extra spending on health and the police with not just a pinch, but a wheelbarrow of salt. So they're saying they're not believing Boris when he says he's going to put extra money in. So, all of these ingredients will go into the next election, which in turn will not be a single national battle, but a series of local skirmishes with each party having to fight on more than one front. Boris must keep Tory Remainers on board while bringing back those tempted by the Brexit party. Joe Swinson will see the Lib Dems in the southwest of England as it does in the southwest of London. Joe Swinson will see whether her Remain in all circumstances position plays well for the Lib Dems in the southwest of England as it does in the southwest of London. So there was a line I missed out. Apologise for that. And Jeremy Corbyn's policy of deliberate ambiguity, a great phrase, will be tested to the limit in places as culturally different as Brighton and Stoke. Finally, there is the question of the voters' stamina. Many Leavers see the endless delays as a campaign to wear them down, and some admit it is working. I find myself going from anger to apathy really quickly, one told us. That sounds like me in a nutshell, doesn't it? Though people hold strongly to their position and have their personal champions, whether Boris, Joe, Jeremy or Nigel, their view of the political class as a whole wavers between fury and contempt. Many are torn, not just between parties, but over whether to bother voting at all. Well, I'm not sure I see that, but there you go. It is a wearying saga, and we haven't reached the end of it yet. And then, yep, you get a line like that, and that's almost depressing on its own. So, sorry, not much commentary on this, but I thought I'd share this article. I found it did kind of back up a lot of my own biases, to be fair. And I do realise that this channel is, centre-right leaning, and I cover a lot of the articles that kind of back up my own confirmation bias, but there it goes. Hopefully you've enjoyed it anyway. If you want to leave a comment below, that'd be appreciated, and if you like, share, subscribe if you appreciate what we do.